with the story that I was going to tell. The other day, when a mouse ran across my foot and freaked me out. But the story that I was going to tell was I had taken Elizabeth to the ER, and I don't really remember why. But do you remember, baby?
Maybe it was the Mario scratch me or something.
I don't think it's whenever the cat scratched her in the eye, but it was one of these things where you have to take your kid to the ER. And we're in the waiting room, and I don't even know if you remember this. There was this little lady beside me, and she was this old lady, and she was asking me questions, how old is your daughter, and the normal things that, older people ask you. And she was asking me, where do you live, and all this other stuff. And then she started telling me about her life and where she's from. And I was like, oh, where do you live? And she looks at me, and she says, I live in the Twilight Zone. And I just look at her kind of weird, and the lady beside her touches her leg and pats it and says, no, Miss Betty, you live in the Twilight Home. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of a cute story about this little old lady at the ER. But, we have so many different kinds of stories of so many different things, and usually there are things that happen to me. And, right now, because we're on the subject of, I just went blank, stories at ERs and places like that, I have to tell a story of why people should mind their own business whenever they see children that are with their parents in a doctor's office. Okay? So, my children, my boys who are 11, Matt and Sam, have autism. They've always had autism. They were born with autism. They're always going to have autism. Anyway, whenever they were really young, and I took them, I think it was Matthew, to the doctor. I was waiting in the waiting room for him to get his blood drawn, and he was behaving himself. He was like 3 or 4, and he didn't talk. And he was under my chair in the waiting room, and he was just, actually there's a name for this. It's called denning. Whenever a child with autism wants themselves in something, a closed, enclosed area, it's called denning. There's a name for it. There's a reason why they do it. They feel secure. So he's underneath my chair. And I had no issue with the child being underneath my chair. That's my chair, my child. I don't care. So lady sits down beside me. I'm having trouble talking. I'm getting irritated. This lady sits down beside me, looks at my kid, and tells him that he needs to act right and get out from underneath the chair. I don't know who this person is. He needs to get out from underneath the chair and sit in the chair, or else he's not going to get any McDonald's whenever he's done at the doctor's office. Okay. Let me start with number 1, it's none of your business. Number 2, the child was not misbehaving. You're not the parent. You do not need to intervene. Number 3, I don't take my kids to McDonald's to reward them for getting their blood drawn. And anyway, I could go on for an eternity, all of these different things. The child was not throwing a fit. He was not upset. Nothing was happening. He was under my chair behaving. And it always floors me that people, if you have children with autism, or any kind of disability, automatically what I'm talking about. There's always this person, whether or not your child has a sensory issue and they're taking their shoes off or their clothes, whatever, just stripping down nude in Walmart, whatever happens with them. And it happens with people with autism. They have sensory issues. And if this is happening and then people look at you and they say the stupidest things, they'll say, oh, if that was my child, I'd, beat it out of him, whatever. Just don't talk. Just don't say anything. You see a kid and they're obviously in distress and they're not throwing a temper tantrum. The differences between a temper tantrum and a meltdown is a temper tantrum has a goal that is supposed to reach. Like if you tell your child you can't have that toy and they start screaming, then that's a temper tantrum. That's a temper tantrum. What a meltdown is the same noise, the same volume, the same, not seeking attention while doing it though, not making eye contact, not trying to get you to notice, not trying to involve you, and there's no to me is like there's no means to the end. There's like nothing that they're not screaming over a toy or over an anything like that. They might be screaming over a noise they can't stand or covering their ears or whatever, but you don't know. There's so many children out there with autism and different disabilities and sensory issues that if you see something like that, shut your mouth and keep on. You're not helping anybody by saying your condescending remarks or passing your judgments or anything else that you're doing is not helping anybody. So just keep on going. Anyway, storytime with Steph was not as much fun tonight, and I'm sorry about that, but I do live in the Twilight Zone. Anyway, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.